Okay, so in this video we're going to learn a lot actually. It's a pretty important one for our JavaScript uh, progression here. The first thing we need to learn is if we make a mistake, how do we fix it? So what if we, instead of saying document, what if we are like really bad speller, we say document, right? I mean, it happens all the time. Uh, I got out in the fourth grade spelling bee for the word license, and I still don't know how to spell it. So okay, document, and we try to run our website, and you'll see that it's having an issue there, and it said hello. But if we didn't know that it was supposed to be displaying this text, we would have no idea things were broken. I mean, this looks okay, except for having pop-ups, which is pretty annoying. So the way to fix that is if you go to in Chrome, you can do View, and then down here in Developer, you'll see this JavaScript console. Um, and if you can't find that, you can search in Chrome for that. You'll see that it says uncaught reference error. Document is not defined. It'll tell you what line of code it's in. 3, right? And so it'll help point you to that mistake. So let's say that you had so if you had like these ones, right? So say hi, bonjour. Okay, this is actually all the languages I know how to say hello in. That's pretty pathetic. And let's just say we have an H and then a G. Okay, cool. And half of them are okay. So it just really mucked up line 2 through 5. If I try to run this one, you'll see that it first says alert is not defined in JavaScript 2. So when I fix line 2, it'll now say, okay, I got line 2, now it's line 3. So if you have a whole bunch of them, it'll just go and run through one by one, right? And them pointing to the exact line of code is going to be pretty crucial, especially as these things start getting longer. Having to search through where it failed will be a huge bummer. The second thing that we can do that will really help us kind of problem solve is this console.log. And I'm going to say looks like everything itch. Okay, so console.log it's kind of a message to ourselves. I'm going to put it down here in the bottom. And so what I want to do is I want to look for where this thing types. Get out of here. Where this thing types, right? Okay. So in my page, I get the hello. I have the I just gained awareness thing. Now what I need to do is figure out where that happens. Well, if I go back in the developer thing in JavaScript console, you see it gave me a message. It gave me a message to myself and said, "Oh, it looks like everything ran without a hitch." It just lets me know that everything ran fine, right? Because remember, if everything runs in order for this line of code to occur, then everything in front of it must have occurred correctly, right? So if there's something stopping this process from giving us the all clear, then one of these lines of code messed up. Well, you can take that same line of logic and you can say, sometimes the program even starting will be where the issue is. Okay, so if we read this message, the program begun. I'm not sure, and I don't even know how I'd find out. Okay, so if we read this, the program has began, and looks like everything ran without a hitch. So now I know that the program successfully started and ended. If there was a mistake now, like if you spelled right, like you do it right, watch this be some obscure thing. You see how the program began, but I'm not getting that like we successfully did it message. So I would know that there would be a mistake somewhere. Okay, cool. Now what I want to do is I want to have this idea of a variable. Now, a variable is one of the most important concepts in all of programming. A variable in math is like x, where we're trying to solve for it, and x can only be like one thing. Like if it's 3x plus 7 equals 10, then we know that x has to equal 1, right? And us figuring out what that variable is our mission. In programming, the idea is it's sort of similar, right? X is a stand-in for any value that we want it to be. But in programming, a variable it's a stand-in for any bit of information that we want it to be. So think about like a score like in Pac-Man. Score is a variable in Pac-Man. So you start off with 0, so the program knows at the beginning, set score equal to 0. And then as you eat those, I don't know, like little balls of light, you slowly get up on score, and then if you eat a ghost, then you go up, and so the score keeps getting updated and changed. So a variable is just a place to really store information, and we want to store information from the user. So let's do this. I'm going to create a variable, and the way to do that is with var, var, and the variable that I want to get is username, right? So if I get username, and I'm going to have it now be set up with, I'm just going to say it's Frank, right? So here, what I'm doing is I'm setting the username equal to be Frank. So if I do something like this, so instead of alerting hello, I'm gonna like, you know, when I when I run it, this page says hello right here, because I'm telling it to alert hello. Right here, I'm gonna say username, and let's try it first in quotations. So if I do alert username, watch what happens. It says username. That's because if I put it in quotations, then it's saying like literally the word username. But if I get rid of those quotation marks, now it's saying alert me whatever the username is. Okay? So now it says Frank. Now this isn't very useful because of course I know what like I set it to be Frank. So why wouldn't I just put Frank in there? So what I need to do is I need to get the information from the user, right? And here's the line of code to do that. So what I want to do is I want to get that information from the user. So let's go right here. I want to do prompt. Get my own head about how to spell that. Okay, so if I want to get their username, I'm going to say, what is your name? Internet friend. So I want to get their name. Let's see what that prompt command does. So when I open up the website now, let me close the developer tools. It's going to say, this page says, what is your name, internet friend? And I'm going to say Sam. And I got the information, but I didn't really do anything with that information yet. Let me just get rid of some of this here real quick. I'm just going to get rid of you right now, and I am going to get rid of this right now. So if I get the information right here, I want to store it, and the best way to store it is by obviously making a variable. So I'm gonna have the variable username be equal to whatever we get from this, and then I'm gonna have an alert that prints off username. Okay, so let's see how that works and changes it, right? So I accidentally closed out my thing. Okay, so I'm going to open up with Chrome. Now it's going to say, what is your name, internet friend? Nick. And it's going to pop up and say Nick. Now, kind of a good idea here is if I do this again, right? So I ask what the our name is, and then I'm going to shoot that message out. If I ask it again, what is your let's see here. Yeah, what is your? I'm going to ask the same question again, and I'm going to alert it again. This will show us that we can rewrite some of this stuff, right? So the first time my username asked me if I put in Ted, it's going to say back Ted to me, but I can override that username because a variable can constantly be changed, right? Like I said with the Pac-Man example, if you eat a cherry, you get 150 points, your score updates. Well, now if I want to change my name, it says, what's your name again? I'm going to say, Theodore. Oh, God. And it's going to say kind of Theodoro or whatever that name is. So you can update it. Yeah. And you can also do things like this. Food is going to be equal to, let's see here, the prompt of what is your favorite food? And then whatever they say back, I'm going to write food there. Let's see how that works. So, what's your name? I'll say F, and it says F back to me. What's your name? E, and it'll say E back to me. And now if I say, what's your favorite food? And I say, you know what's really good? Don't hate me, microwaved ice cream. Just super runny, and just you can like slurp it up like it's soup. It's the best. And it'll fill in whatever I want into that space. So kind of interesting. We can use that to use with the document.write. That's a pretty good start for where we're at. The last thing I want to mention about variables is that so far we've just had them set equal to words, and those are called strings. Soon we're going to start using with like numbers, especially in later units. Variables can be numbers too. But if you ever heard the word strings, strings means basically a variable like a username that's not a number. It's words. Okay, cool. Thanks much.